We're working underneath the truck tonight, and just to point out how rusty it is, and this thing is toast. It'll do a burnout, but I would not say this is safe to drive on the road. The bed floor is completely rusted out. The ratchet strap holding on the gas tank, but also the evap sensor of some sort, canister sensor over there just dangling because it has no mount anymore. The Bluetooth shock, of course, we've seen that a few times now. The other shock is also falling apart, but it's still connected-ish. Yeah, this thing is absolutely tarnished. And the real issue, and reason why I'm pointing that out, is look how much debris fell off it. I mean, I'm so glad I put the tarp down. Because look, I appreciate the extra help, the extra light. Oh, look at this. Everything about this whole cover is flaking away. All of these bolts, they don't have flat walls to them anymore. They're all almost conical in shape. All right, guys, if you just saw, the other night, well, it was last week already, looked at the differential and saw that it had been sitting underneath the ocean for the last 20 years and is completely corroded to the point where no bolts is going to come off with a socket. We have to weld all 14 of those and hope they all back out to get that diff cover off. So I bought a gasket, I bought a diff cover, I put a light up so I could actually see where I'm welding, and I bought a handful of nuts to weld. I gotta address the brake delete situation I came up on. That's junction, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I think it's self-explanatory, but in case you don't notice, that's a folded up brake line. So the rear driver's side has already had a brake delete. No brakes on this side. It's not like the brakes were much better on the drinker side. Also terrible. And since this is a burnout truck, it doesn't need brakes in the back. Also, I was thinking, since it had no brakes on this side and brakes on the other, when I'm trying to do a burnout, I wonder if that's making this choose a side, right? Make the differential choose a side. So I'm just curious, if I pinch this line off and fold it up and then take it out and do a burnout, will it burn both wheels at once? A mid-brake line delete. This is working swimmingly. I found out that it's really satisfying to just flatten brake lines with a pair of pliers. That's actually oddly very, very satisfying. Oh, they squish so nicely. Anyways, went ahead and cut one side off. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this other side off real quick and then fold it up. And this is a rear brake line delete done by DIY Speed, only the most professional work done in this shop. We really try to excel and do the best that we can. That's not even leaking at all. I shouldn't have to worry about that. Maybe it's leaking a little bit. Yep, still leaking. Yeah, it's kind of like I worked on this truck years ago. It's not even that long. I bet that happened a few weeks ago. And if you look, they did pull the fitting out of it. So I assume the same thing that's happening here is what happened here, which is this is all so porous that just by squeezing it together and folding it up, that's just gonna leak forever. Which is fine. Yeah. I don't mind. This thing's not gonna live forever. It's not gonna live very long at all. And yeah, okay. So now that that's out of the way, I can get an angle grinder on this. We can start to clean it up.
Well, let's first see if it will do a two-wheeler.
That's right.
Well, even with that, still doing a one-wheel peel.
Wow. 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 Wow.
All right. It's been some work to get to this point, but there's only 2 bolts left that need a nut welded on them. And I know this isn't pretty, but I've managed to get them all. This one I'm going to test. I don't know if I welded this one enough. Oh, yeah, there we go. Broke loose. Hello, friends. Welcome to Isaac's world of rust. It's somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning, so excuse me, I'm a little tired. Don't excuse me. This is exciting. This worked. This was a shot in the dark, and let me tell you something. The fact that every single one of these bolts is backed out, mostly, oh, that's because I welded it a little too much, is a miracle, to say the least. I'd have to get a pair of pliers on these now that they cooled off, but they're mostly finger tight. So that is a huge win, and that is really exciting because we're going to be able to pull this diff cover off and see what's inside and then weld the shit out of it. For the first time since 2004, that rear end is visible. And we're back, guys. I'm standing underneath the rust rocket, rather precarious place to stand. And I've made an assessment on what to do with this rear end. So I'm not taking this out. If you look at the hardware that's holding the axles in, this thing lived under the ocean. So all of this, well, we're not taking the leaf spring perches off, but all of this is so rusty and damaged from rust that I'm opening up a can of worms just by trying to take the wheels off. And I don't have a lot of time and I don't have a lot of money. So either this rear end is going to work by welding it through the ports that are, you know, barely visible here. You have like 1.5 ports by like 1/3 of an inch to get a stick in and weld. But if I fill that whole area with a ball of weld, it should lock it good enough to do burnouts. Remember, guys, it's not a driver. It's never going back on the road. It's a burnout truck. So to save the time, to save the money, to see what's going on, because I'd rather, okay, when I say save the money, I'd rather just put a whole rear end in this thing with better brake hardware, better everything, and a locker already installed than have to take this apart, pay for all the hardware on this, which is total junk. It's going to be junk anyway. So without further ado, let me ruin this 14-bolt rear end and link and lock it, hopefully, with a stick welder. This is making some funky noises. I'm not gonna lie. That thing's creaking and cracking a little bit. It is what it is. Let it cool down. It should work. I hope. Not really. Look at that. That's terrible. We're not gonna look at it anymore. So while I'm letting it cool down, before I unleash the cleaning solution, before I hit it with brake clean, I'm looking at this muffler and it's too quiet. It's a stock muffler. It's a replacement muffler in really good shape. And even though everything else around it is completely rusted, this thing's totally solid, not a single hole in it. And it could be salvaged. I could probably sell this on Marketplace for a few dollars. But I was thinking to cut this end off like a can, like to pop it off like a can. And if it would just sound like a big resonator and have a nice deep rumble. I don't know. I don't know. So while I think about that, I put a short up. If you see it, if you saw it and weighed in, thank you, because, well, anyone who comments is helpful here. It's the next day. The differential is now cool to the touch. I've confirmed that both wheels spin in unison with very little resistance, a little bit of crunch. And I went ahead and used a bunch of air, a little bit of brake clean. I cleaned this up as best as I could. So now I can say that this is ready to be closed up. I'm actually excited to try this out. We'll see what happens. I hope it works. If not, take it from there. But I got to show you something because I'm not gonna be able to refill this very easily. So way over yonder on the Chattahoochee, I never knew how much that muddy water meant to me. That is the drain. Sorry, that's the fill plug, which is absolutely corroded and it's just gonna fall apart. It means I gotta pull out a welder to fill it. And I don't wanna do that. A welder to fill that would be a pain. You can see how corroded it is. There's no way, trying to get my finger on it, there's no way that I'll be able to get that out without a bunch of work with a welder. And I have no interest in doing that. So we're gonna have to get creative on how to fill this. But I did buy a brand new cover from Rock Auto for $12 and a $4 gasket for it. So Let's see what I come up with. Gasket's on, a little bit of RTV on the back to hold it in place. And my solution to getting oil in the diff is a Ziploc bag. So before this starts pouring everywhere, because as you can see, it's already starting to leak, I have to get this in here with the cover on. So without further ado, let's give this a shot. And I know what you're thinking. Why am I spending so much money with a new gasket and a new diff cover for a rear end I just ruined? Well, the answer is I don't know. But don't you worry, I'm not trying to spend money on this. As a matter of fact, let's see. Oh, that's not going to work out very well, is it? I can already tell this is not going to work. But we're going to try anyways, because that is what we do here. And by try, with as little effort as possible, you will notice this. Well, I didn't get new bolts for it, so I pretty much have no choice but to reuse the welded nuts that I put on it. And we're going to lose so much oil in this process. No idea how I'm going to get this to stop from draining out. Oh, here it starts. I should probably just position the catch underneath. Huh. I could probably use a new container to hold this with. Mission complete. Reuse the old hardware, lost one, doesn't matter. The Ziploc bag's keeping it from leaking. It's not leaking anywhere else. So I'm gonna call that done. Glad that's over with. Hopefully it works. I don't wanna come back here. If we do, it's getting a whole new rear end. It is time to move over to the next portion of the video. So the muffler here is in pretty good shape. It's not completely rusted out. I mean, you can just see it's still whole. I could sell it, but I don't think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna do what sounded fun in my head, which is turn this muffler into a giant resonator by hacking it out and just leaving the outside. So I don't wanna take it off the truck to do it. I'm gonna see what I can get done on the truck before I actually take it off. So let me find a Sawzall, let me find some other tools and get to cutting this up. Well, isn't this a wonderful moment? The rear differential's done, link and locked. The muffler has a hole in it, so now it's more of a resonator, so maybe it's a little louder. Very few things left to do here. All aesthetic, really. What am I saying? The nitrous kit is next. But before we put the nitrous kit on it, I want to confirm that that rear end is locked. So we're going to do a naturally aspirated link and locked burnout before we put the nitrous on. And then we'll do the nitrous burnout after that, and this truck is ready to go. And with that, let's set the lift down. Let's roll it outside. See if it worked. I just remembered that it was leaking brake fluid really bad. Like I lost a couple of cups while I was driving. And I got to do something better than just fold up the hard line. So I went ahead and grabbed some cheap insurance here. A line lock kit, or well, a fluid line clamp set. One of those will do, with the added benefit of vice grip. And that should hold. I am a genius. Look at my automotive excellence. For added protection, got a little bit of both. And I'm gonna throw a zip tie around here just in case, you know? Make it extra safe. Maybe we'll even zip tie this to that. Hold it all in one spot. What do you think? Sounds good.
How are we feeling about this?
It axle hops like a monkey.
Oh yeah, I saw it hopping.
That's a new
But there's two lines. I didn't see both wheels spin, but there is two lines.
All right, well, it axle hops that bad. Oh, my keys. Those should be important.
Also the line locks are under the truck right now.
All of that. Yeah, I left it on the bumper, didn't I? Good job, Isaac. But the rear end didn't blow up yet.
Nitrous?
Nitrous.